Did you watch?
Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
So we about to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run the game, spitting with a little bit of soul, no times. Bread on tummy time.
All right.
And we're back.
Yeah. No, the hot count in right there. We're live. Oh man.
It's good to be back, man.
Yeah. Welcome to the Please Remain Calm podcast.
I haven't seen you in months.
Yeah. Right. I haven't seen you in here in months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PRC back in the studio.
Yeah. We didn't plan to have this long of a hiatus. We actually had like 3 or 4 shows that we were trying to do during the break.
Yeah.
And they just fell apart each time. Either the guest or we were trying to do shows just us, and we just couldn't get ourselves in here.
Well, I think a large part of it had to do, obviously, with the surge, the COVID surge.
Yes, which is what we're going to talk about first. Coming back in here because we did not see that one coming ahead of time.
Well,
I mean, sort of. But
I mean, you could see
not to the extent.
Obviously, we've been in a pandemic for over a year, but it did kind of feel like we dodged a little bit of the bullet compared to what the East Coast was going through.
You're putting it mildly because we took a straight up like victory lap on this show.
Oh, exactly, dude. I mean, early on.
A few months ago,
yeah.
Thinking like, oh, yeah, we beat it, dude. Like, especially like the first, I want to say, I don't know, what was it, April, May, when we got through that.
Oh, yeah.
With like.
Well, the initial when New York was filling refrigerated trucks with bodies and shit,
Right.
We had the USS Mercy here.
Yeah.
We had that hospital
the surge
downtown.
Hospital, yeah, St. Vincent's.
St. Vincent's was converted.
It was called the LASH.
It was going to be
the
a
Los Angeles Surge Hospital.
Yeah, going to be a surge hospital for COVID. They had
it was operating.
They had
we put
did they have
over 100 people there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
They had overflow at the convention center.
Yeah, that
right?
was set up to go, but never activated. Actually,
yeah, it just did. It wasn't that bad here.
Yeah, it wasn't that crazy.
And if we had a COVID patient on the fire department, it was one maybe every like 5th shift we'd get one, and it was like, oh shit, we had a COVID guy.
Yeah,
and at relief, you're like, dude, we had a COVID guy. Man, we took an hour after the run and douched the whole back of the rig, and we all took showers. We did exposure reports, all this stuff, right?
Yeah, because you're talking about like a legit ripping COVID patient.
Oh, it was
not like a suspected.
It was a
possible.
It was a big deal, dude.
Yeah,
a big deal
for real.
And then
we sent everyone home.
Well, and then it just felt like it kind of like dug its claws into Southern California, and it almost seemed like it happened overnight, man, to be honest with you.
Pretty much. I mean, like they warned us about the holidays, not to gather at the holidays, that there would be a surge afterwards, but when they said there was going to be a surge, there was a surge.
Yeah, so that affected, obviously people were worried about the virus and stuff like that, so it affected our guests. Guests didn't want to come in the studio, and then I was seeing we went from one COVID patient, like I said, every 4th or 5th shift maybe, to like every other patient was a legit, hey, I've already tested positive for COVID. Every other patient. Yeah. And there was and I'll pick up overtime days. I try to work a specific number of shifts during a week, Right. I try to pick up three shifts a week, whether it's my shift or an overtime shift. So if my shift falls and there's 2 shifts during the week, I'll pick up a shift. I know I got to pick up a shift, right? To make my money.
Yeah.
And so if there's no good, if I don't get hired anywhere, I'll go to the vacancies where they couldn't hire anyone for the day. There's usually,
you can pick
25 vacancies across the city, something like that. And you can pick where you want to go. And so I'll pick up shifts down at 57s, down in South Central where I used to work, or over at 9s on Skid Row where I used to work. It's fun to go back and visit those stations.
Yeah.
But holy moly, man. You go down and like I'll work a day at 57s, and every patient we got was a COVID patient. And the problem with the patient is it's not necessarily the patient. We've got our N95s, we've got our full ISO gowns and everything that we wear, right? We're pretty well protected when we go in there. Yeah. And I've probably been exposed more than anybody that I know, You know what I mean? Outside of the fire department.
Right.
And I've just been diligent about wearing my N95 whenever I'm around anyone that that potentially any respiratory distress, you know what I mean? Any fevers, any just like sicks, you know, I'm suiting up fully and protecting myself until I know what the hell's going on. And so work down south, I'm doing that every single call. And then you'd walk into an apartment, and it's all down in that area. It's all multi-generational housing, basically.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like an apartment will have grandma and mom and dad and a couple kids and maybe even the grandkid in a bassinet. You know, so you walk in there and dad is dying in the bedroom.
I mean, multiple people in that household have to go to work, too.
And there's 6 people in there. None of them have masks on. Oh, well, we all tested negative. You know, he tested positive on Thursday. Okay, but he's coughing his brains out, and you guys are all just sitting here. Like, why don't you guys go out of the room, you know?
Because people get, a false sense of security from a negative test.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you wind up taking dad to the hospital, and the next shift or later on that night, you're coming back for grandma. You know, and the next shift, oh shit, we're going back to that same address.
To the same house?
We're coming back for the mom.
This is what you've been running
same
into?
Same exact thing. Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See, and they say, too, that it's affecting poor neighborhoods, Latino and black families worse. We're here to tell you, folks, that is true.
That is 100% true, man.
Super happening. And if you look at the situations in the emergency rooms, because that's, part of my job is we're overseeing all the ERs and the status of all the ERs in the county at any given time. Any of the hood hospitals or hood adjacent hospitals, they're not even close to opening anytime throughout the day. They're varying on how many times they can ask us to shut down because they've already had to ask us to shut down so much.
Yeah, I believe it,
dude.
You know what I mean? Just taking it back to another day that I worked at 57s.
Mm-hmm.
We get a COVID patient, transport to Centinela, which is down by where the just built the new Rams Stadium, right?
Uh-huh.
It's where the Tommy Lasorda Heart Institute is and stuff like that. But
Rest
it
in
is
peace, Tommy.
Right in the middle of Inglewood. You know, it is kind of just like you said, a hood adjacent hospital.
Well, here's the other thing with Centinela, and this is a microcosm of the problems with healthcare in general. A bunch of the surrounding hospitals in Centinela were shut down and went out of business in the last 15 years. The two closest hospitals in Centinela with emergency rooms were completely closed, and they've been torn down now, actually. Daniel Freeman, his house is down. Yeah. And I think RFK is still standing, but it's just like medical offices and stuff. Yeah. But those were 2 adjacent local hospitals, emergency rooms, both shut down, and it put a huge crunch on Centinela. Yeah. Also, MLK was shut down for a while. Yeah. So there were 3 surrounding hospitals that were completely closed and put this big crunch on Centinela that has pretty much never let up for the most part. But now with COVID,
and that's
disaster.
And that's the shitty part is that all these hospitals, in these lower income areas, underserved areas, are just that. They're underserved, especially with the hospitals. They're smaller hospitals, and they're just
they're not as profitable.
It's just like I said, you have multi-generational families in small apartments and tight knit groups. So. Someone gets sick, everybody in the apartment gets sick, and it's not just COVID. I mean, the flu or whatever.
And they also have to go to an ER that can't take them, doesn't have space.
Exactly,
they're stuck waiting.
But that's on a regular.
Yes,
that's on a regular day. Now you tack on COVID on top of that, and we were transporting patients there, man. And they have they're redoing that hospital, remaking it because they're all the building and construction they're doing over there.
Right.
And I shit you not, man. 8 ambulances out there, each one with a COVID patient in it, 4 or 5 gurneys on the ramp going up to the door, and then you go in there and it's standard crazy, Sentinel Hospital in there, which it's a crazy busy hospital,
right?
Packed ER, and then nobody was able to close. So when you call the paramedics, when we pick you up, we're bound by certain rules of where we need to take patients, right? If you're having a heart attack and your EKG comes back that shows you you're actually having a STEMI or a heart attack, we got to take you to a STEMI center. If you're having a stroke, there's a specific primary stroke center that we've got to take you to. And we have a computer system on our rig that we can look up and see what hospitals are closed and which hospitals are open. If a hospital doesn't have any beds available in the emergency room, they will close to the paramedics. So you might be, Dr. Weinstein's favorite patient. You've been with him for 60 years, and he's on staff at Cedars, and he knows I'm coming over there. But if they don't have any beds available, then the paramedics cannot take you there. We can't break rules like that. That being said, when every hospital is full, every hospital is open.
Right.
So that's what's going on right now is you're looking up on the ReadyNet to see, and you'll punch up, ILH, and it'll bring up like all the 6 closest hospitals.
Right.
And it'll tell you how far away you are, if they're open, if their CT scanners down, if they can't see this, if they can't see that, it breaks it all down for you so you can make a determination of where you need to go. So if we bring up ReadyNet and everyone's closed, well, then everybody's open. And so you pick what hospital you go to. So you have all that already there at the hospital. They're already a busy hospital. You tack on all the 5 or 6 COVID patients that are waiting for an isolation bed in the emergency room.
Plus, there's like different procedures now for how you even bring a patient in. So all these patients are
literally,
I'm
getting to that.
Go for it,
So because it's not like you're just waiting for an open bed.
Right.
You have to have an open bed in the ISO area that they've created within that ER, because every ER usually has
non-COVID patients safe.
Exactly. Every ER has 1 or 2 negative pressure rooms in there that are, isolation rooms for people that are sick with whatever contagious condition they have. 1 or 2 rooms. You know what I mean? But if you're getting 8 patients with this deadly contagious disease,
and they're all there at the same time, and there's nowhere for them to go.
So they're sealing off with plastic certain entire areas of the ER, and that's their COVID area. Or they've got tents outside, and that's their COVID tent where they're putting everybody that's contagious out there. So so real quick, so let's say we're there waiting, 2, 3, 4 hours go by. You're still waiting with this patient because their SAT's okay because you have them on 2 or whatever, and then a cardiac arrest comes in. And it's like, shit, okay, we got a cardiac arrest coming in.
It's like a grenade being dropped
It's a COVID patient, too. Yeah. Okay, clear the hallways. Everybody clear the hallways. They got to shove everybody, all the patients and people and just regular registration people and shit, shove them into rooms to get them out of the hallway, and then hustle through the ER with this person because they're bagging him. Yeah. There's exhaust on the BVM. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You're exposing everyone to COVID.
But there's nothing you can do.
But what are you going to do?
Yes.
What are you going to do, man? Everything's full. There's nowhere else to go. This person's going to die. So when you see things like that on the news happening in other parts of the country, and you happen to go to the ER because you twisted your ankle, and it just doesn't happen to be happening at that moment at that ER in that part of the country where you happen to be watching it, don't assume that it's not happening.
Yeah,
because it's happening.
We're here to tell you, folks,
it's happening, and it's bad.
Yeah,
and it kind of feels like we've gotten
barely. That's why we're able to be back in the studio now.
Exactly.
But through December, it was madness. And going back to what you're saying with the ReadyNet, because in my department we monitor and operate the ReadyNet. Okay, so Centinela. Another thing about that hospital, Inglewood, they're what's called a service area hospital. So they have a geographic boundary where any patients, 911 patients within that boundary are supposed to get taken to Centinela and nowhere else.
Right.
Which also changes how they're able to close themselves to outside ambulances on the ReadyNet. So they have to call us to get authorization to do it because they're a boundary hospital and they're not supposed to close, right?
Yeah.
So we're very familiar at work with when Centinela is crunched and how they're looking, how their numbers are. So one of the things that we always ask when we're checking on how stressed an ER is how many admitted patients they have in the ER. So these are patients that are admitted to the hospital. There's just no room in the hospital yet. They're waiting for a hospital bed to open in the hospital for them to go up from the ER.
Right.
Generally, that's a single-digit number of ER boarders. And if it's a high single digit, that's like, oh, hey, you guys are kind of slammed. We're getting calls now from not just Centinela. I mean, like White Memorial, other places that are close to downtown, close to central LA. They'll have like 50 or 60 patients that are admitted patients in the ER.
Yeah, man.
If they just have 60 regular patients in the ER, that's slammed.
Sure, yeah.
So we're talking about 60 admitted on top of the 60 regular.
And
so it's like double capacity.
And how many of those are actually ICU patients, but there's no ICU beds?
And that's the thing. So the crunch on hood hospitals, because hospitals will be licensed for a certain amount of beds for each level of care, right? Yeah. You'll get licensed for maybe 5 beds in ICU, 10 beds, 20 beds, depending on the size of the hospital. So there's hospitals, let's say like Huntington Park Community Hospital, for example, right? They're licensed for 2 ICU beds. They were holding in the ER.
Oh, I was saying in Huntington Memorial. Sorry.
No, I'm talking about Huntington Park is a tiny hood hospital.
No, I got you.
And they had 15 ICU patients in their ER.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And they're licensed for 2 for the entire hospital.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That was the situation that we're running into everywhere. And going back to...
And it's everywhere.
Yeah, to saying how like if everywhere's closed, everywhere is open. Orange County was doing that where they're like, this is too crazy. And they wouldn't allow anyone to close.
Yeah.
And so Orange County basically forbade their hospitals from closing on the ready net or closing to ambulances. So what we were getting was calls from hospitals on the border of the county, like Los Alamitos, asking, hey, can you please close us to the LA departments?
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And you can't really do that. There's not really like a county designation to close on the ready net. Yeah. So we were just having to call fire departments saying, hey, don't send anybody to Los Al.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't really anything else that we could do.
Yeah. And it's a tough one, man, because what do? If you have someone that's really sick and every hospital's full, it's like, hey, man, you got to at least get them to the hospital. But I mean, it's bad, man. The hospital, another hospital we were at, we're waiting. We had been there like 3 hours in the hallway, and another patient on another department's gurney. I won't mention who. I won't mention the hospital either. But their heart rate was really low, and they needed to be paced. So they brought a monitor over and paced the patient on the rescue's gurney.
Wow.
Waiting in the hallway.
Outside? Or in the hallway?
In the hallway. But,
man,
that's a procedure that the hospital is choosing to do.
Yeah.
Pacing is basically like, you shock a patient. If you see it on TV, someone's in cardiac arrest and their heart's in V-fib or V-tach, you shock them, right? Well, sometimes if their heart's not beating fast enough or hard enough, we can give a tiny shock that basically just makes that heart beat.
Yeah.
We basically control the pace of the heart rate.
The idea is that it's going to set their heart rate for them.
Basically, we're like a pacemaker,
right?
And essentially.
But the problem is that they're getting shocked while they're usually kind of awake.
Right.
So
but it's typically something we do in the field because that's why they called. Hey, I've got chest pain. Oh, damn, your heart, you're in a ventricular rhythm. Whatever.
Sometimes you have to do it in the field.
Yeah, 28 or whatever.
But it should be done in the hospital.
We're gonna pace you. You hook them up. You give them a little, Versed, to calm them down.
Yeah.
And you start pacing them. Yeah. Right. You're their pacemaker. But it's a critical patient you're dealing with there. You got to get them to the hospital, and they need some definitive care.
Mm-hmm.
So to have someone who requires
even external pacing like that on the gurney in the hospital, it's like a stopgap,
right?
Just to hold them until they can get.
It's just a crazy, unheard of thing that they would bring and do that procedure on our gurney. It's one thing if we're doing it in the field and we're trying to get them there to get definitive care. Yeah, they're just like, we don't have the ability to give you definitive care here. Here, we're gonna pace you.
Yeah.
On your gurney. It's crazy. Shit like that's happening all the time. The other thing is, going to see a patient that's having difficulty breathing, that's already tested positive for COVID. You get them on some O2, their oxygen saturation comes up. Then you got to have a conversation with them. Hey, look, everything is looking normal. Your vital signs are all normal. Your EKG is normal. Your oxygen saturation is down. I mean, we're showing up on people with oxygen saturations in the, low 80s, high 70s, which is tough. But they're calling it like happy hypoxic. Have you heard that?
No.
Where you'll get there. They don't look like they're in that much distress. They're saying, I feel like I can't breathe, but they don't look like they're in that much distress. And then you patch them all up,
SAT's bad.
and their SAT's like 78. You're like, oh shit,
Okay, yeah.
Then you get them on a cannula, and it comes up to like 92, which is still pretty low. I mean, anything below 94 is something we normally. But that's what COVID's doing.
Yeah.
You know, it's
that's
dropping it's dropping your saturations, making it difficult to breathe.
That's the other thing with these patients too, is that's what's therapeutic for them is high flow nasal cannula, but high flow to like 40 liters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Constantly going.
Yeah.
And so you have
Laying
100 patients in the hospital that are on 40 liters.
Yeah. They're running out of oxygen.
Yeah, they're running out of oxygen. Exactly. And like to the point where the suppliers don't have oxygen.
Yeah.
And the suppliers are trying to figure out where they're going to come up with oxygen.
It's a trip, man, because typically the fire department mantra basically is if someone wants to go to the hospital, you take them to the hospital.
Oh yeah.
You don't try to talk anyone out of going to the hospital. There's too much liability with that. And
right.
You never know, you know. And now we're just like the hospitals are so packed that, like I said, we're going through doing an assessment. Even if you're short of breath and you have COVID, if we put you on a little O2 and your sats come up, we'll sit there with you for a little bit. You know, if you're wheezing, give you a little treatment, let you suck down some O2 and stuff like that, and then have a conversation. Look, I'll take you to the hospital if you want to go. Yeah. But you have COVID. All your vital signs are normal. Your saturation dropped a little bit, but you have COVID. That's what it's going to happen. You know, you can talk to your doctor about maybe getting some home O2. You know, we can take you in right now, or we can give you some O2 and see how you feel and pull you off. Yeah. And we're typically leaving people at home. You know, if their vitals are all good and they're doing okay, their saturations are like in the low 90s, there's nothing that they're going to be able to do for you at the hospital.
Yeah, you're just going to sit there.
Yeah, they're sending people home with the pulse oximeter and basically.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And basically instructions to drink fluids and treat the symptoms.
Are you starting to run into now as well, like a lot of like post-COVID patients? Like now their COVID history. Yeah. Or they were tubed 60 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still having issues.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Still having issues. Yeah. Heart issues. Still can't catch my breath. Right. Oxygen saturation staying low. There's a lot of lingering issues with people, dude. Yeah. The other thing in my district too is we've talked about it in the past on here is the homeless population in Venice is the second biggest in the city, second only to Skid Row, and it's starting to go through the homeless. Yeah. Or it has been over the past month.
It is now, huh?
Oh yeah. It's we've been getting,
because that was another thing that we tripped out on the first wave was it was skipping over them.
Yeah, it was skipping over them. It's in there now. We're transporting COVID homeless COVID patients, which is tough too, because a lot of them are high. Yeah. Or psych. Yeah. And
comorbidities crazy.
Yeah. Or you try to get a mask on them, and God, they don't want something on their face because they're psych, or they're high and they've been up for 3 days tripping on meth or whatever. Yeah. You're trying to put something over their mouth and they can't breathe because they got COVID and they're coughing and they won't shut up. You know what I mean? Yeah. They won't shut up because they're high on meth. Yeah. So it just seems like. It just seemed like calm waters just turned into a freaking whirlpool, dude. And like that, man.
It did, and there were things were because you started to get used to this normal now every day. Like every day is chaos now at work, and every day is crazy.
I'll be honest with you, dude, it sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks, man.
It does. It was a bummer. There was nothing we could do about it. We didn't have the same resources as we did in the first wave. You look at the ReadyNet, we have 88 hospitals on there. At any given time, only 10 were open. Yeah. Everything closed, right? And then the ReadyNet also is for a resource request. So when hospitals need supplies, need emergency equipment, anything like that, tents, it comes through on the ReadyNet. They'll put a request through on the ReadyNet. We had 1 week where they gave us the number to give out to order bulk body bags because we were getting hit up for bulk. Everybody was running out of body bags. Yeah, and I've been there. Man. I'm coming up 13 years there. I've never even heard of having to call for body bags. Crazy. I don't know anybody's job where that's come up in their job even. Hey, you're going to get asked about the number for body bags.
Yeah,
here's the number.
Here it is.
You know what I mean?
It's on a poster right there.
Pretty much. That's how it works. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's just added. So it sucks because it's added more work. Right? Yeah. It also sucks because you're getting exposed all the time now. And thank God I've had, I've had both doses of the vaccination already, the Moderna vaccination, which I felt fine after each one. I got a little bit of a splitting headache after the second one, and sore arm, but I didn't get sick. Bernie had the Pfizer one. She had the first dose of the Pfizer one. She got pretty sick for about 24 hours.
Yeah, I had the Pfizer one. I've only had the first dose. I got a little stiff at the site, on my shoulder, like kind of felt like a bruise, but nothing there. And that was it. Just for that day.
It seems like it's hitting everybody different because I've had a handful of people tell me they gotten really pretty sick.
Yeah,
and a handful of people that haven't anything. So that's added. It's just the added stress of being exposed. You know what I mean? Like you get a call and it says on there, hey, known COVID patient, shortness of breath, and you're the attendant, because that's how we're doing it. It's like one guy will go in.
Yeah.
If you're the attendant, you're the guy that's getting fully suited up. You're going in, you're doing the full assessment, you're doing lung sounds, EKG, all that stuff, while your partner's outside doing the EPEC or documenting and stuff like that. And then when I get in the back, you hand me the computer, and I'm in the back with the patient. I push him down. It's one guy. We're trying to minimize our exposure, right? But if you're the attendant that day, you're getting
exposure every run.
Yeah, you get a shortness of breath, and it says known COVID patient. It's like you might as well wrap your head around it, because you got to suit up and go treat this person. You don't have a choice to not. Hey, I'm not going in there.
This is my day.
So it adds that stress to work. On top of that, there's the we've talked about it hundreds of times, and how many episodes do we have? But we've talked about it in here before, about how the fire department is a super conservative organization, right? And with everything,
being
polarized the way it is, and this is a good freaking segue into that.
Exactly.
Anyways. The same thing is the case with masks. You know what I mean? And and it goes back to media bubbles, like I said before.
Oh, yeah.
If you're watching Tucker and you're watching Hannity and you're watching OAN and stuff like that, all you're hearing is bullshit about masks.
Right.
So even at the station, I'm wearing my Hoser shirt right now. You know what I mean? This is a classmate of mine, a buddy of mine, great guy.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
Rest in peace. The first guy in LFD to die from COVID. My freaking age. Great guy, and you got
guys that don't buy it,
and you got guys that don't buy it, dude, or walking around the station without masks or whatever, or I already had it, you know what I mean? And it's like, all right, man. So then it adds to tension at the station also. You know what I mean? So
it's like a low key enemy within kind of thing.
It really is, man.
Not to be dramatic, but it's like you got to worry about it in the street, you got to worry about it in the house.
And it's also people that I care about. You know what I mean? It's like people that I have respect for and stuff like that. That, in all honesty, man, seeing things, from all angles, like I try to do.
Right.
I don't blame them. You know what I mean? Like, I know you're a smart guy. I know you're a good person. I've seen you be a good person. I've seen you do
pilled,
good things.
Dude.
You
That's
just got pilled. Exactly.
That's all it is now.
You took the red pill, and that's he believes that in his heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then it's like hard to have it's hard to have an argument with somebody.
Yeah.
I had
because that diet insulates you. And then anything outside of that diet's impossible for you to comprehend.
And you're so locked into you have the truth in your head.
And then you immediately just want to seek more reassurance from the bullshit that you digest.
I had I posted something about the minimum wage or something like that. If you follow me on social media, I post a bunch of shit on my stories, political shit.
And we've been kind of talking about this stuff here and there on episodes leading up. We actually did an episode where we only talked about it, but it kind of went all over the place, and so we didn't drop it.
I had so I posted something about that, and I had the wife of a guy that I used to work with message me, giving her side of things.
What?
And that happens a lot. You know what I mean?
Hamburgers are going to be $28.
Exactly. Small businesses are going to go out of business. They can't afford to pay $15 an hour, and if you think anything different, that's just you're thinking like a unicorn. That's not even arguable. That's a fact. It's like, okay, so I don't mind having back and forth with people about stuff like that, because I get it all the time, right? I get DMs all the time. And when I first started my Instagram, and I was posting like all this stuff that I post for the station, the 63 by the Sea page, those were all my pictures I was posting on my personal thing. So I was getting a bunch of firefighters from all over the country following me. And I didn't really have a reason to post any political shit, you know what I mean? And then over the past 4 years, it's kind of blown up. So I get those messages all the time. And I'm happy to have a back and forth. If somebody hits me up about something, I've got a couple of LAPD friends.
Let's talk.
Yeah. Let's talk, man. I have an LAPD detective that hits me up. Hey, I want to see what you think about this. And it's a story about gas guns, changes, and people getting off and stuff like that. And it's like, all right, I'll read through the story, then I'll research a little bit about exactly, just so I know what I'm talking about, formulate my opinion and answer. And we have a cool back and forth.
Yeah.
And oh shit, I didn't see that. Okay, well I can see where you're coming from. Well, okay, I can see your angle as a cop. I can all right,
Right.
And we have a cool back and forth. I'm able to have that.
Yeah.
If you're not coming at me calling me a unicorn
exactly.
and saying that this is fact, there's no if you're coming from a place of there's no way to have a conversation about it, well then what's the point? What's the point of talking to you? There's no point in talking to you.
And it goes the other way too. A lot of people who would be considered like on our side will start things that exact same way. Like I can't have a conversation with you even because of what you have agreed with in the past. Like, I'm more, why did you agree with that? Like, what do you think? Or is that right? Why is that?
That's akin to me like, well, if you don't believe in God, you're an idiot type of shit. You know what I mean? Like, okay, dude, you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of conversation we're going to have,
way. Yeah, what's the point?
So, so yeah, man, it's weird, man. It's weird because there's this like ultra tension on this job that already has tense situations that you already have this anxiety when you're going to calls. And you know what I mean?
This is why I wanted to talk about this too, because there's already you train like crazy because you have to make snap decisions. That's pretty much what the job comes down to. You're a paramedic, you're a firefighter, cop. You train like crazy because you have a second to decide what you're going to do in a lot of situations, right? So in the event now where you have, I mean, for lack of a better term, you've been pilled.
Yeah.
You have this outside diet now that's cramming into your brain, trying to affect.
Yeah.
It'll start seeping into affecting your decisions, as evidenced by like what you're saying, guys walking around maskless in the station, not taking COVID seriously when they're working through COVID every day. It is the same thing with my work. And we could talk about this too, because this happened, while we were off the election, right?
Yeah.
I work in the department that is handling the COVID response, basically, and is like front lines as it gets for the overall scene of LA County. Like we're looking at we call the hospitals every morning to confirm the numbers. How many COVID admits do you have, deaths, ICUs, everything, right? To give them to the state. So that being said, half the guys in my office, my coworkers, my same position, still think it's kind of a hoax.
Yeah.
Or that, they're fudging the numbers. You're calling to get the numbers. What fudging is it? Like, you're the one writing down. Are you fudging it?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But they still, because they're so pilled that that's all their entire media diet is just OAN, Newsmax, and not even Fox now anymore.
Yeah.
It's pretty much like OAN,
it's
Newsmax,
so crazy,
these
man.
guys. And they're just like dialed in to whatever they say has to be true. Oh, I don't really trust, the MSM.
That's it. That's the other thing that trips me out too. Is like, it's not like it's top secret information. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not
easily verifiable.
You don't need a password to get in and verify the shit that they're telling you. You know what I mean?
But in our situation, these guys are right there with us.
Well, yes, but if it's just like I said before, man. I have my Twitter, dude. And I've created my own little bubble on my Twitter, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like I follow enough different people with different perspectives and shit like that that I get a pretty good, well-rounded view of things.
I have friends that were comics that became more conservative as this happened, and now they're just full-blown Trump guys.
Well, but not only, but not only,
and they were still good and funny comics, but now they're like super pilled, and I can't even tell for sure if like it's legit or if they're just in on a grift, kind of, just trying to cash in on an audience. It's weird, man.
There's nothing from keeping people to get the information from getting the information that I'm getting.
Oh yeah,
so
exactly.
So when somebody hits me up with something, and then I'll give my answer if I feel like doing it. And they'll say, well, like, give me proof. Oh, really? Show me how that's, and it's like, no, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, Look it up yourself.
Yeah, or you show them and then they reject it for some other dumb reason, or they change the point.
I'm not on here on social media trying to change anybody's mind. I'm not going to. If you don't want to know this stuff, I'm not going to change your mind if you're locked into your bubble. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't get in arguments like that. Like, if I feel like it's going to be a normal conversation where you're just uninformed and I can tell you what or you ask me my thoughts on something, I'm happy to give them. But the second you close down, you say something like, oh, that's a fact, there's no discussing it, or and shit like that. There's no point in going back and forth.
Yeah, because where are we going to go with this now? Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, man, it's crazy. And then the election happened. I got to be honest, dude, I was pretty fucking. I went to bed that night. I was working that night, election night, and he still hadn't. But. There was like 3 or 4 states that were still up in the air. Georgia and Michigan, I think, was still up in the air, and it was not looking good. And then
Wisconsin,
finally, I just decided on my own. I was like, I'm putting the fucking phone down, dude. I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah.
And I, watched the movie on my phone. And then we ran a couple calls, and I didn't even look to see updates or anything. And in the morning, my partner Matt, who's a pretty centrist, kind of guy, came in. We had been talking about it overnight, like, dude, I think Trump's probably going to win. I'm just like, I know, I can't fucking believe this shit, right? And then we got up in the morning and look, the tide had turned or whatever.
Flipped, yeah.
And then it just seemed like immediately everybody was pumping up the stolen election thing.
Oh,
dude.
Yeah. Because it was what they were watching, and I became an avid Fox News viewer on election week because I wanted to watch them call it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to watch them say that Trump lost.
Yeah.
And I was hoping like it would be like during like Tucker or Hannity.
Yeah.
Right. Because I've seen, watch Hannity a few times. It's more like just a trip out on, him simping. Basically, it's like an hour of simping.
Yeah.
But Tucker, I watch for the same reason. But sometimes he's spitting fire.
Yeah.
Like sometimes he nails points, dude. We're like, wow. He's not wrong there. You know what I'm saying? And then other times, like,
once in a while,
this is retarded racism.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's mostly the point of right-wing media in general, man, is outrage and fear.
Yeah, totally.
If you're
spinning people into a tizzy.
If you're frenzied up enough fearful enough, and angry enough, you're gonna want to tune back in to see what did they do anything about this? Did they fucking what I mean? What else did they do? These fucking pedophiles or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's all it's about, man. Is ratings.
Yeah. You put people into a bowl, you put a mixer, and you just whip them into pudding.
And that's it, man. And the angrier the angrier they are, and the more upset and frenzied they are about whatever subject you're talking about, the more apt they are to tell more people, oh my God, if you're not listening to Tucker right now, you're in the wrong fucking place, And people don't realize that they're not watching news.
Yeah.
They're watching opinion.
Yeah.
They're watching opinion. But it's the same thing with Don Lemon, on CNN or fucking, Anderson Cooper.
Chris Cuomo. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the same thing. They're sitting, it's the same frame, the same shot every time. Maybe some things bubble up.
I watch CNN. You know what I mean?
Tense.
I like their newsroom a little bit better. I like that guy on the weekends. Damn, what the hell's his name? Fareed Zakaria. I like watching him. He's got good commentary and stuff like that. But you can take Cuomo and Don Lemon and Anderson Cooper. Yeah. The same reason.
The same coin.
It's the same. Yeah, exactly, dude. Mm-hmm. It's the opposite side of the same coin. Yep. They're doing everything with a smirk and a. But Wolf Blitzer, you know what I mean? He reminds me of like the heyday of like the old school journalists who.
Like a monotonous, Tom Brokaw
monotonous tone. Yeah. Just says the freaking story. Yeah. There's no wink. There's no giggle. There's no laugh. He's just giving you the information, and that's that. And you don't see that in media anymore, man.
No.
I mean, I say it all the time that Grandpa would be rolling over in his grave if he saw what, media is these days.
And then you see like Dan Rather, who's an OG boring media news guy. And then he's like fire on Twitter.
Killing it on Twitter, right? Dude. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
man.
Murdering fools.
Yeah, some guys get it.
And then you get It just honestly, dude, it's the dumbing of America, and it's been going on.
Sure.
It's been going on.
Yeah, it's deliberate
for a decade now, over a decade now.
Yeah. It culminated in the last Secretary of Education.
It really did,
who
man.
Had no education policy at all.
And that's really what it boils down to. Is like we haven't kept up with the rest of the world as far as education, man. You talk about issues like when an issue comes up like free college, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like we're literally one of the only fucking established, countries that doesn't fucking provide education
aside
for
from
their
that too,
citizens.
The standards of the education that is provided, most of the country like went to fucking like Jesus camp for basically junior high and high school.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And now all those people like own businesses, they're voting, they're running for office.
Not
and
only
it's like
but
that's what they were like raised with, is just that kind of like indoctrination, I guess.
Yeah, man.
Is the way to say it. Reject all this, accept this only, and that's it.
I mean, essentially we're not keeping up with the rest of the world when it comes to education, man. And same thing, just like you said, you're going to, religious school or whatever, and their curriculum's different than what, everybody else is learning and stuff like that.
And then that's just not to knock like, religion or, Christianity or anything in general. I'm just saying the standards for that kind of school might not be rigorous academia.
Yeah,
as opposed to or compared to a school that and then you tack in the media bubbles and stuff like that. And honest to God, man, I honestly don't know how people watch OAN and take it seriously and allow themselves to get worked up and angry about it when all special. You have to do is pick up your phone and type in whatever it is, and you can see. Type in the host. Yeah, but
I had somebody send me because I've got a handful of fireman buddies.
Yeah,
who are cool guys that I know and I like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That will hit me up stuff I post on Instagram, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had a guy send me a PragerU video, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, want to know your thoughts on this, right?" Yeah. And so I know Prager.
Yeah.
And so I look up on a media bias website. I type in PragerU. It gives you like their rating.
I remember it used to be like an AM talk show host.
Right.
Yeah.
And so PragerU and says all this stuff. We rate it at whatever the rating was, and for extreme right wing bias. False quotes. It was like this whole list of shit that he. And so I just sent him that. I go,
and they make a bunch of dumb points all the time, even on the surface.
I go, this is what I think of that video. I'm not even going to watch it, dude. This is what I think. I think you should get better sources.
Yeah.
I think you're upset and you're talking to me and answering me about this fact that I put on there that I know is a fact because I researched it.
And I'm glad
you're getting mad at me because you listen to this fool who you shouldn't be listening to. It's as simple as that.
And you're ready to fight over it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the basis for everything that's happening right now.
And I'm glad you brought that up, or PragerU specifically, because going back to like the half of the people went to Jesus Camp High School, like in a lot of states like the Midwest, like PragerU is in the curriculum, bro.
It's crazy,
like it's introduced in the curriculum of school districts, of high schools, and this is just a horse shit meme account, basically.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's just like stuff that's like completely like easily debunked.
Or take it a step fucking further, man. Q.
Oh,
I mean,
that's a humongous mess, dude.
I mean, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, man. With this shit.
These are coworkers now,
yes,
that are buying it, dude.
Yes,
and they're whipped up to where there were firefighters showing up at the Capitol.
Worse
to storm
than that,
the Capitol.
man. Worse than that.
Chiefs,
they're
captains,
Congress women.
Oh yeah,
Congress people.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing too, is the only reason they're elected though is because that's the voters, dude.
Exactly.
The voters buy it because there's all these states where like this is it. There's mayors, there's city councils where they're all sucked in.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they're posting stuff on their official government accounts.
Well, look at the people that are arresting, man. I mean, state senators, you know what I mean? City council people, mayors, firefighters, 15% of the people or something like that they arrested are military or ex-military.
Yeah.
You know,
a bunch of them didn't vote.
You got the freaking Oregon GOP,
yeah.
You know, censoring Liz Cheney, you know, for voting to impeach. It's bananas, dude.
Yeah.
It's bananas. It's the dumbing of America that started, you know, 10, 15 years ago coming to fruition. Like those dumb people are like the like, you know what I mean? Supreme dumb people.
Here's the point now.
And all the other dumb people voted them into power.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the thing. That's where we're at now is because it's the voters that voted them in.
Yeah.
So now nobody on that side wants to say, no, they don't really eat babies because they don't want to upset the voters.
Yeah.
Now the voters completely believe that. And if you don't believe it or act like you believe it, then they're going to primary you and get rid of you.
Yeah.
And so people are just so afraid of getting voted out that they don't want to admit, like,
the entire system is screwed up, man.
Yeah.
So when you talk, it's funny, man, because like I consider myself a progressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there was a progressive party, I would be registered progressive for sure. Okay. I think AOC is freaking awesome. I think she is smart as hell, is brave, talks, you know, stands up to everybody,
did you see
holds her
that
ground.
video she dropped where she's talking about what
insane,
happened?
Dude. It's insane.
Right?
It's insane. I think
she's hiding in the bathroom.
I think she's the future of what we should strive to be. Okay. The idea of the Green New Deal, you know, anytime she questions anyone in congressional hearings.
And there's a bunch of people who hear us say that or hear you say that and then just check out on us.
Oh,
right off the bat. No, that's impossible. And that shows you more so how right she is, because that's the number one person that just gets character assassinated right and left.
She'll get on screen. This happened, I don't know how long ago. And we're all in the kitchen. Yeah, she pops on the screen for whatever reason. Oh, look at her, man! Fucking dumbass.
Yeah,
you know, she's such an idiot. She's such an idiot. Anger.
Yeah,
somebody I'm talking to, we're talking about some anger in his eyes. All right, so that happens all the time, man. Shit like that. So I like to just, oh man, you got pretty upset there. Like what makes her crazy? What's she crazy about? We need to go completely to solar within 9 years. Like, we're just going to get rid of the entire oil industry and go to solar in 9 years. Green New Deal is fucking stupid. It's a stupid-ass policy. It's a stupid-ass bill. Okay, well, let's break down what you just said, you know? It doesn't say anything about we need to go 100% solar within 9 years and be done with oil, okay?
Even going on that, though, if it did, then let that guy learn what oil subsidies are.
Or if scientists said we do have to do that within 9 years, like there are, like, it doesn't matter how you feel about
that argument though is always for, you know, free market. You know what I'm saying? Because the same people that always want to pump up the oil industry are the same free market people all the time.
Right.
And it's like,
none
the
of
free
that
market does not apply to the oil industry.
But none of that fucking matters.
Yeah.
None of that matters if the planet's going to get so hot that certain foods don't grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're not going to have this food, and we could possibly fucking have, you know, people starving to death.
Yeah.
All that goes out the window if the glaciers melt and sea levels rise, and entire towns of hundreds of thousands of people that live on the coast are going to have to migrate inland. You know,
you're being alarmist.
Right, exactly.
This happens every 500 years.
But none of that matters if that's the case. If all the scientists, if the consensus of scientists are saying this is what needs to happen, we got to fucking do that, man. We got to make sure that happens. The only way you don't feel that urgency with that is if you believe the people that go, don't believe the 99% of scientists. Yeah. You know,
but you know what that falls into too? That goes back to, you know, Jesus Camp High School, because it's people that believe in the rapture, dude.
I know, man.
People that are waiting for it all to end anyways.
And let me tell you something,
and they want to accelerate that.
Let me tell you something. I do not like talking about religion.
Me neither.
I do not like talking about people's religion and what they believe. I don't, dude. I don't. Everybody's different. There's how many hundreds of thousands of religions around the world, you know? But I don't know, man. As an adult, at some point, you have to you have to stop believing in magic. You know, you have to believe.
If that
you have to believe professionals and everything,
cool. But things have to make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's hard to argue. It's hard to have a conversation with somebody who's coming from that from that point of view.
Yeah, but again, that being said, though, if that's what gives you peace or gives you purpose, makes you in better service to others, hey, I'm all for it.
I have a personal relationship with what everybody calls God, right? Yeah. I've have my ups and downs in my life.
I'm an atheist, except during the holidays when I'm agnostic. Agnostic.
So it's just crazy sitting on this side, and I've got these different levels of difficult people to talk to that all want to talk to me about the same thing. Because even the public, like I'll be sitting, Matt, my partner, my ex-partner who just left, went to 85s, by the way. Good luck, Matt. Went into a snowboard shop in our district, and I was just sitting there, and a lady came out, walking up to the window, and I wanted to ask what you thought about masks, and so I put my mask on, and then I turned to her, man, would you mind putting your mask on, and so she pulls it up and starts having this whole conversation about, the mortality rate and comorbidities and all this stuff, and what about the flu? They're not even talking about the flu. But yes, people still getting the flu, man. This is completely separate from it. It just seems like everybody wants to talk about all this stuff, and I'm happy to do it, but you've got this religion hang up that's your point of view that it's coming from. So it's hard to have a conversation with you about facts when you're coming from that point of view. You're a fucking anti-vaxxer, and you're coming from that anti-vax point of view.
We'll only be able to talk to a certain extent
about the vaccines. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, if you're coming at me with conspiracies, I can't have a normal conversation. I got 2 kids, you know what I mean? Like I got shit in my life that I do. I don't have the time or the energy to change your mind. So I don't want to. I'm not going to,
So bringing it back to the situation then in our workplaces. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's the thing too, is that now you're on the job with these guys, and you kind of have to wonder what they're thinking when they're at home. Some of them.
I don't wonder, dude. I fucking know.
Are you do you empty your bank account already? Do you have a month of water in your garage, or are you waiting for blackouts? And
I mean, that's real, man. That's. Yeah. I mean, but that's not just the fire department. It's not just where you work. It's like all over the country.
Anywhere now. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't know who's like a secret militia guy now.
And it's just all this stranglehold that your media bubble has on you. That's it, man.
Yes.
It all boils down to that.
Yep.
It all boils down to whatever.
You got tricked by YouTube, bro.
Whatever you want to listen to, whatever rabbit hole you went down, that started that algorithm feeding you the shit that you believe now.
And it's just us going around telling people to watch The Social Dilemma now, over and over.
And just you have to have your own innate sense of wanting to come from a place of truth.
Yes.
If you're happy with where you are and the people that are around you, and you're happy being angry at A, B, or C, and that's your focus of life, and that's what you're never gonna pull yourself out of that. You're never gonna try to see things from other point of views. And that's the key, man. If people would just have a little bit, tiny bit of compassion, a tiny bit of wanting to see things from other people's point of view.
Yeah, empathy.
Yeah. A tiny bit of empathy, we wouldn't be in half the shit we're in right now, man. No. We wouldn't.
No.
The fucking insurrection, on the 6th. What a travesty that was, man. Yeah. I mean, what an embarrassment as a country. These
that
people
was insane,
dude. Dragging Capitol police officers into the crowd and beating them. Guy got beat to death with the fire extinguisher.
Yeah. Dude,
these are patriots. These are
three
thin
other
blue line guys.
3 other Capitol Police officers killed themselves since then.
Yeah, man.
Crazy, dude.
That being said, there was Capitol Police officers in there taking fucking selfies with the guys.
I know.
You know, opening up the barricade and fucking letting them walk in.
Yep.
You know, so I've said this, in you know, with a couple whiskeys in me at parties and shit like that. Like my theory on this whole thing, man, is back in the 30s, white supremacy, right? Aryan nation, shit like that, right? That concept, that belief system almost took over the fucking world.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it literally almost took over the world, man. The entire world had to band together to beat down that movement. Okay. Right. Some people got caught. Some people got killed.
Well, overt white supremacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some people got, but a lot of people escaped and wound up in Argentina and different parts of the world and stuff like that, right? There's whole
the Midwest
German villages down in South America.
Hell yeah, dude.
Those people have kids.
Sometimes they went back into the same thing, man. You look at Chile.
Your beliefs are gonna be fed to your kids, to your grandkids, right? But yeah, my point I was trying to make is like, man, it wouldn't surprise me. Like this is the type of deep-seated shit, man, that like really does need a commission to investigate exactly what happened with that shit. Because when you really look at like first of all, Trump pumping up that it was going to be a rigged election. I mean, months before the election happened. Yeah. Why? Because he knows. Because he knows he's a piece of shit.
He's doing it the first election too.
He knows. Yeah. He knows everything was not looking good for him, and so that was his plan all along. And just like you said, he did it back in 2016 also. Yeah. Yeah, it was the same exact fucking thing. He's it's rigged election. That's all he keeps putting in there, and it goes back to, it's essentially the same thing that happens with your media bubble.
They had copyrighted "Stop the Steal" and bought that domain name like 4 years ago.
And that's a funny thing about all this shit, man, is the grift. It's so obvious. Oh yeah, it's so in your face. It's so right there, and to have it be so obvious and to watch these people that I have a certain amount of respect for. Yeah. Just
buy it all.
Buy it all, man. And just
that's the hill they want to die on.
Let this fat orange, just disgusting human being grift them and allow them to walk off this cliff with him. And he don't give a fuck. He's got his money. Yeah, you know, if
and the sub grifters under him.
Yeah, man, yeah.
It's levels and layers of it, dude.
It's super sad to watch some people, but mostly it just has me like, where like I just don't care anymore. Like I don't care to argue with you about dumb shit, you know, because you don't take the time to understand what you're talking about. Right. You know, I also don't care about people's feelings when they say dumb shit. You know, and I'm there. Where I used to just go, oh man, and walk out, or I'd walk in and OAN would be on, and I'd be like, oh my god, dude, and I'd walk out, or Fox or whatever. You know, now I'm asking, you know, or somebody says something like the guy that, you know, oh, AOC is fucking crazy. All right, why is she crazy? Like, explain that to me. No, well, okay, well, that's not even what the Green New Deal is. You know, it's not a bill. It's this is what it is, and basically it's a roadmap for blah blah blah. And I break it down. And I go, so why? I don't understand what's crazy about that. Oh, well, you know, she wants to lose all kinds of jobs. All right, but you're going to create jobs, you know, in solar manufacturing and different areas too. Same thing with, you know, with
You go through it all. They got nothing at the end. They switch to something else.
Exactly, man. It all just turns into, you know, blue versus red, R versus D, and that's why I think I sent out a tweet about it before. It's like, we shouldn't even fucking have political parties, man. Like, can you imagine if it didn't say if you were a Republican or Democrat and you actually had to, like, read a bio on someone and look at their voting record and make up your own mind of what? Because some of these, like that fucking crazy-ass Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? Or Boebert and stuff, or even, like, Tuberville, you know, from Alabama.
There's a bunch of them.
There's a whole handful of them. You cannot... you put these people side to side, the one that lost and the one that won, look at their records, their education, shit like that, and pick this. You can't.
But that's the thing, though. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. All that matters is that letter,
voters, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all that matters is the voters. Is
it's
the
not
area
even the letter, because
now
the voters want you to be. If you are a Republican, they want you to buy into it and be crazy too,
right,
or they'll replace you with somebody else who is.
But
dude.
they're also going in there and going, fuck, I don't know. I know this person. I don't know any of these people, but I'm voting R.
Yeah.
Down the ticket, or I'm voting D down the ticket. Same
what
thing.
There is to read. If there was stuff to read, they wouldn't read it though.
Yeah,
that's the whole point, dude.
And it's slowly ruining.
There wouldn't even be stuff to write for them to read, because that's the whole thing. Like that, nothing's about policy or legislating or anything like that. It's just about posting.
Yeah,
that's all it is, dude.
Yeah.
Everything's just about posting, dude. So that's the I'll do my real quick thing, and then we'll get out of here. Yeah. All right. It basically just boils down to everybody wanting to feel special. You have people at home, anything they don't like in their life, things aren't working out for them. Oh, now all of a sudden, you have some secret government operative dropping you messages on 4chan, letting
you're on the
know,
inside.
You're a patriot now. There's no barrier to entry other than just don't question it, buy it. And then there's a whole economy and ecosystem built around it, the people to follow, people to share, stuff with, memes, shirts to buy, Etsy shops, Amazon,
and hundreds
posters.
of thousands and millions of people that think just like you.
Yeah. So you just get the comfort from it.
Yeah.
And that's basically the same way that a cult works.
Yeah, man.
But it just boils down to, I don't feel special. Now I feel special. This makes me feel special and happy. Yep. And that's it, man. People just want a hug, and this is their hug.
So all that being said, all the information is out there for you folks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't. If you come arguing with me about the shit, I'm either going to crack you back if you come at me wrong, or I'm going to inform you of some shit. But it's all stuff that you can just look up on your own. Get your news from multiple sources. Don't just trust your bubble, because even my bubble lies to me sometimes about stuff, or gives me an angle on things, what I mean, without giving me the other angle. And so I'd spend a lot of time
take everything with a grain of salt,
shit.
man. The internet is not completely true, bro. So if people do want to DM you and argue with you, where would they go?
Well, you can follow me at DannyGonzo34 on Instagram and Twitter. And me and my boys just started a TikTok also, Gonzo Boys on TikTok. I don't know what I'm doing over there yet, but
all right,
follow us.
Old guy on TikTok sounds pretty cool. Follow me at Ben9Humor, Ben number 9 Humor, like benign humor on Instagram and Twitter. Follow the show at PRC Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and we're going to be finally posting new stuff because now we have content, because now we're back in the studio. That also being said, we will be back with the regular PRC content. We got guests lined up.
We got guests lined up.
Yeah, we got respiratory emergencies, motorcycle accidents, more firefighters getting popped.
Grinds Our Gears episodes, just getting out what happened over the past 2 months and why we've been gone and all that stuff.
Exactly. So we appreciate you guys. You could email us at contactprcpod@gmail.com. Follow us, Apple, YouTube, Spotify. We love y'all.
Hold on. Yep. The views spoken about here there are views only, and they do not represent the views of the Los Angeles City Fire Department or the LA County Department of Health Services.
Right on.
Have a good evening.
All right.
We'll see you.
Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
So we about to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against it, and with a little bit of soul, no times. Bread.